So as we start to get used to the new normal with kids back at school during the pandemic, many parents are concerned about their kids getting sick with COVID, and not only getting sick, but bringing it home and getting sick themselves. This could lead to lost wages, and it could mean parents are entitled to compensation as a result. Joining us with more is personal injury lawyer Nainesh Kotak. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. Good morning.
I have to admit, this is not something that I thought about, and I'm just wondering, from your perspective, have you already been hearing from parents? Is this something that you're expecting sort of a flood of calls over?
I haven't heard from anybody, and it's possible that there could be calls of it for these types of cases, because no doubt there's going to be more infections with children back in school. But Pooja, it is very difficult, I think, to prove a case that a child, first of all, caught COVID from the school and passed it on, and in fact that the school is negligent. You see, parents or children are going to have to prove that, first of all, there's a duty of care on behalf of the school. That might be easy to do that for the school board. But then they're going to have to show that the teachers or the school itself was negligent. And it's not a standard of perfection. Infections, are going to happen. They'll have to look at, did the school act in a reasonable and prudent manner in terms of following guidelines that they've been given. Not only that, you have to prove then thereafter, even if there was negligence, even if there was they took the mask off when they shouldn't and there wasn't enough social distancing, you'd have to prove that the child caught COVID because of that action or inaction of the school and not through some other cause. And, it's very difficult to prove. That would probably, you'd need expert evidence, medical evidence from experts on this, because it may have come from their friends in a different situation. It could have come from their parents. So I think although we may see some claims, Pooja, I think it is going to be quite difficult to prove and get compensation if a child contracts COVID at school.
What if it's a situation where there's an outbreak at a school? Would parents be entitled to compensation in that case?
I think you'd look at it the same way, a little bit different in the sense that you'd have to look at, okay, once the outbreak, became known, did the school board, because children are being offered the option to stay home and learn remotely. I know that is difficult, though. I've got a little guy, and it's very difficult. Some of the kids don't want to learn remotely, and some parents can't afford, the time to supervise or, in fact, have the equipment necessary. So I think if it's an outbreak, you might see, more of a chance of liability depending on how they react, how the school reacts to the situation.
You mentioned learning from home, but we've also heard about these learning pods. In a situation where students may be in one home, they're all learning under that one roof, what is the liability in that case when it comes to the homeowner?
Right. This is where I think people really should worry. Look, everybody's doing their best to protect their children, and the pods are one way to do it. It's difficult, though, because it's hard to establish what is the reasonable standard of care. Because, for schools, you've got guidelines that are set out by the Ministry of Education, by Public Health. What about the homes? It becomes difficult, particularly if the children are moving from one home to another, depending on the pod. And the teacher's coming, obviously not staying with them, is coming, in and out, or whether sometimes it might be remote. I think that there's a greater chance of liability here. And the difficulty is home insurance may not cover these activities because they could look at it. It's something extra outside of what you normally would be doing at home, and maybe it's for profit if obviously you're paying the teacher. So I would recommend in those circumstances that the parents who are having these pods check with their home insurance companies. Are we covered in these situations? You might be surprised and find out probably you're not. Then the next question would be, okay, we would like to be covered. What does it cost? And then, of course, split on that cost for the various homes and have coverage. I think that's very important. And this is an area I think many people have not thought about, in terms of obviously they're trying to keep their children safe, but take that step further and get the appropriate insurance just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot to think about, food for thought as well. Unprecedented times, right? So, I mean, I'm sure that
Absolutely.
As we continue on, maybe we will start to see some of these cases. In the meantime, if people want more information, they can head to your website, kotaklaw.com. Nainesh, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pooja.